there's heated debate over plans for a memorial to commemorate President Dwight D. Eisenhower. The memorial, which will be built just off the National Mall, shows Ike as a young, shoeless boy, sort of a dreamer, instead of focusing on his time as president and a war hero. Those plans of Eisenhower's family outraged. Listen.
One of the main flaws of the current proposal is that Eisenhower's contribution to this nation is not the central theme of the design. The Eisenhower our nation wants to celebrate is not a dreamy boy, but a real man who faced unthinkable choices, took personal responsibility, and did his duty.
Joining us right now is the granddaughter of the late President Eisenhower, Susan Eisenhower. Good morning to you, Susan.
Great to be with you.
Okay, so Frank Gehry, the very famous architect, has suggested that they depict Eisenhower as a young boy from Abilene, Kansas. I'm actually from Abilene, Kansas, so I've been to the memorial and the library in Abilene many, many times. What is it about this particular depiction of that young boy that you just don't like so much?
Well, first of all, you absolutely said it. You're from Abilene, Kansas. You may know that the 10-year-old Kids Council in Abilene erected a memorial to Dwight Eisenhower as a 10-year-old. So I think his hometown is a perfectly appropriate place to put him in that age category. But here in the nation's capital, of course, we're celebrating the great leaders of this country who accomplished things for their nation, and I think, therefore, Eisenhower should be centrally depicted at the height of his career.
Here's what the commission had to say. Quote, I respect the family's concerns and the commission has asked for their input, but ultimately it's not the family memorial to Eisenhower, it's the national memorial to Eisenhower. Representative Mac Thornberry, of Texas member of the Memorial Commission, says that. And what's your reaction to that?
Well, I think he's absolutely correct. This is going to be America's memorial, and we certainly understand that. But we're Americans, too, and we have a standing, as every other American does, to voice our opinions. In addition to that, we knew Ike well, and we have, so I guess, a little extra perspective on this.
Sure.
Just a little.
Just a little bit.
Just a tad.
I understand that Frank Gehry, the architect, has suggested that he's open for changes. If you could just make one suggestion, or two brief ones, what would you like to see?
Well, first of all, let me say that Mr. Gehry has been very cordial and very approachable, for which we are grateful. And I think if we were to make any change, we'd have to be looking at the metal scrims. These are the
tapestries?
Yes, the metal, well, I'm calling them metal curtains because that's really what they are, metal screens. And this is a very overpowering feature of the memorial, and it currently depicts the great state of Kansas. But this sort of defines the memorial as a story about a young boy who grows up to have a great career. In truth, Eisenhower did have an important career, but he led us during some of the most perilous times of the 20th century.
He did indeed. All right. Susan Eisenhower joining us from our nation's capital. Susan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,